Today is the Shabbat of judgment, Mishpatim. Enough with clear commandments like the top 10 from last week. Don't steal, sure, fine, got that. Don't take God's name in vain. Well, sometimes it slips out, but I get it. This week it gets a little more complicated. A litany of commandments in the form of, when you do this, then you should do this. Parshat Mishpatim, judgments, or the rest of the laws. The beginning of realizing that 10 won't do it. There are a host of circumstances you'll encounter in your lifetime that need a little more clarity. Among the 53 mitzvot in this week's Torah portion is Exodus. In Exodus comes, "You shall not wrong or oppress the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You shall not ill-treat any widow or orphan. If you do mistreat them, I will heed their outcry as soon as they cry out to me." And a chapter later, the same commandment appears, but this time it adds that we shouldn't oppress because we know the feelings of the stranger. We have empathy. Empathy is not always so easy. Even when you're, though, not feeling it, the Torah says, nonetheless, do not wrong or oppress. And as Rabbi Shai-Held writes, Exodus teaches us the baseline requirement, not to oppress the stranger. Leviticus magnifies the demand, not only must we not oppress the stranger, we must actively love them. And Deuteronomy raises the stakes even higher. Loving the stranger is a crucial form of walking in God's paths. I share this knowing that on this Shabbat, our empathy is being tested in our world today. Our ability to understand others is challenged. In the most extreme of circumstances yesterday, as the bodies of 4 Israelis were paraded before cheering crowds in Gaza, the IDF chaplain decided to read Psalm 83. Elohim et demi lach. O God, do not be silent. Do not hold aloof. Do not be quiet, O God. For your enemies rage, your foes assert themselves. This psalm is one of the 12 psalms said to have been written by Asaph. Asaph, not King David. These psalms of Asaph reflect a deeper sense of angst about the darkness of the world. It is a cry about how the world seems unfair. Awful things are happening, and the psalmist's anger lashes out. As it continues, "O my God, make them like the whirling dust, as stubble before the wind. May they be frustrated and terrified, disgraced and doomed forever." This is the state of so many people right now, enmeshed in their anger, their darkness, their pain. It is understandable. And on Thursday, I believe this was an appropriate response. But on Shabbat, as we are given some more space, we confront our values and our mitzvot in this week's Parsha. We cannot be naive about what is at stake and the harm that real enemies will do, but we need to remember who we are and who we want to be. Let's move from the harsh realities now of the Middle East, though, to here in America. Valerie Kaur is an American activist, educator, and faith leader from the Sikh tradition. She founded something called the Revolutionary Love Project. She will be speaking at Augsburg University this Thursday as part of an interfaith symposium. I've had the honor of being part of that advisory committee for this day-long symposium, along with my colleague, Dr. Tamara Gray, who is here with us today. So glad you are here, Dr. Gray. Everyone is welcome to attend this Thursday's symposium. And I'm bringing and this transitioning to Valerie Kaur as the speaker because she wrote in her book, See No Stranger. There comes a point in the aftermath of cruelty or injury when I start to wonder about my opponent. Why did they do that? Why did they say that? Why did they vote that way? What is at stake for them? What is driving their behavior? And I want to find out. And sometimes it's not safe for me to do this. I need to tend my own wound and keep processing my rage, grief, and trauma. But when it is safe, I think about how to listen to their story. One might say, why should anyone try to listen to the white nationalists marching in the street or the demagogue locking children up in cages or a former abuser? For too long, marginalized people have been asked to feel for their oppressors at the expense of their own dignity. Enough. We have a right to withhold our empathy. No one should be asked to feel empathy or compassion for their oppressors. I have learned that we do not need to feel anything for our opponents at all in order to practice love. Love is labor that returns us to wonder. It is seeing another person's humanity, even if they deny our own. We just have to choose to wonder about them. I do not owe my opponents my affection, warmth, or regard, but I do owe myself a chance to live in this world without the burden of hate. She has a lot of wisdom for our time. I invite you to learn from her. And tonight, on this Shabbat of judgments, we cannot control so much of the hate in this world. Thankfully, most of the people we encounter each day are not hate-filled, at least I pray. And as we absorb all the news that affects so many, let's hold on to who we are. Our kindness, our compassion, our empathy and care for the stranger, our support for those most vulnerable in our society, people losing their rights and access to care at this moment, and not allow our hearts to be hardened, but rather opened to love. Can you hear Ratzon? Be this our will and God's will as well. Amen.